She broke one rule, just one. She sat down in the billionaire's chair after working for 12 hours straight. When he walked in, she expected to lose her job. Instead, she lost her freedom. And what he did next was completely legal. At 2:41 a.m., the city had not yet decided whether it was night or morning. From 47 floors above the street, the skyline looked suspended in time. Office lights still burned in scattered towers. Traffic thinned but never disappeared. Somewhere below, a train rumbled, distant and low, like the city breathing in its sleep. Inside the top floor of Rowan Global, there was no movement at all. The office was dark, except for the muted glow of the skyline filtering through floor-to-ceiling glass. Every surface reflected precision. Every object sat exactly where it belonged. Nothing here was accidental. Maya's hands were shaking, not from fear, from exhaustion. 16 hours. That's how long she'd been on her feet. Her shift at the grocery store ended at noon. The restaurant job bled into evening, and now this, the overnight cleaning contract that paid just enough to keep the lights on and her mother's prescriptions filled. She dipped the mop into the bucket again. The smell of disinfectant burned her nose. Her knees ached every time she bent down. Her shoulders felt like they were filled with wet sand. She checked the time on her phone. 2:38 a.m. Just a little longer, she told herself. Just finish this floor. The executive office was the last assignment of the night. She hated it, not because it was difficult, but because it felt wrong to be there. The air was different, too clean, too still. She had been warned never to touch anything behind the desk, never sit, never linger. She finished the final pass across the marble floor and leaned on the mop handle, breathing hard. The room tilted, just for a second. Maya blinked, steadying herself. She reached out blindly, her fingers brushing leather. She meant to rest her hand. Instead, her body followed. She sank into the chair before her, and her mind caught up. The chair, deep black leather, wide armrests, perfect stitching. It cradled her weight in a way nothing ever had. Her muscles loosened instantly, betraying her. She exhaled. Her head fell back. Just 5 minutes, she thought. Just enough to breathe. Her mop slid, coming to rest against the armrest. One foot lifted, then another, settling awkwardly on the edge of the desk. The room was quiet again. Maya fell asleep. She didn't hear the elevator, didn't hear the soft mechanical whisper as the private lift opened behind her, didn't see the man step into the office and stop cold. Elias Rowan stood in the doorway, briefcase still in his hand. He was never supposed to be here this late. That alone unsettled him. But what he saw shattered something much deeper. A stranger in his chair, her boots on his desk, her mop touching the armrest. For a long moment, he didn't move, didn't breathe. His mind raced through 1,000 rules at once, all of them broken. His pulse spiked, his jaw clenched, his gloved fingers tightened around the handle of his briefcase. He hated disorder, hated unpredictability, hated violations. And now one sat breathing softly at the center of his world. He took one step forward, then stopped. The woman slept on, completely unaware, and for the first time in years, Elias Rowan didn't know what he was about to do. Maya woke with a sharp inhale. Her eyes flew open. For half a second, she didn't recognize where she was, only the sensation of being exposed, watched. Then she saw him. He stood just beyond the desk, perfectly still, his expression unreadable. Her heart slammed into her ribs. "Oh, I'm so sorry," she blurted, scrambling upright so fast the chair squeaked beneath her. "I'll leave. I'll clean it again. I swear I didn't." "Stop." The word wasn't loud, but it cut. She froze instantly. Elias studied her the way a scientist studies an anomaly. Not angry, not shouting, simply assessing. "What is your name?" he asked. "Maya." "How long have you worked in this building?" 3 months. Night contract." "Who authorized you to be here after midnight?" "My supervisor. I have the schedule." He nodded once.
His gaze drifted past her to the chair, then back. "You fell asleep," he said. "Yes." The admission tasted like shame. "I understand if you fire me. I really need this job. I won't ever—" He turned away without another word. For a moment, she thought she'd passed out again. When he spoke, his voice was quieter. "Finish your shift." She stared at him. "That's it?" "For night." Relief crashed over her so hard her knees nearly buckled. She cleaned the office twice. She didn't touch the chair again. 2 days later, Maya stood in a hospital hallway that smelled of antiseptic and fear. Her phone buzzed in her hand. Unknown number. She ignored it. The doctor's expression told her everything before he spoke. "We need to act now, but there's a problem." Maya swallowed. "How much?" $120,000. Up front. The words felt unreal. "That's not possible. She won't make it." The doctor hesitated, then glanced over her shoulder. 2 men in dark suits had appeared at the end of the hall. Her phone buzzed again. She answered with shaking hands. "Maya," Elias said calmly, "your mother is in surgery." Her knees gave out. "What?" "I authorized the payment." Tears poured down her face. Thank you so much. I'll do anything." "Yes," he said. The word landed heavy. "You will."
Before we go any further, if you're enjoying this story, remember to like and subscribe, and tell me in the comments what would you have done if you were in her position. Now, let's continue. The contract did not arrive by email. There was no notification, no explanation. Maya found it waiting on the small, uneven kitchen table in her apartment when she returned from the hospital just after sunrise. She hadn't slept. Her mother was still unconscious, tubes breathing for her, machines blinking in quiet rhythm. The doctors had used words like stable and responsive, words that sounded hopeful but meant nothing solid. Maya had learned that hope was fragile, temporary. The envelope was thick, heavy, cream-colored, with her name printed neatly in black ink. Maya stared at it for a long time before opening it. She already knew what it was. Inside were 12 pages. No letter, no greeting, just terms. She flipped past the first page too quickly, then stopped when she saw the number. 24 months. 2 years. Her chest tightened. She sat down slowly, the chair creaking beneath her, and forced herself to read from the beginning. The language was clean, clinical, precise. No threats, no cruelty, just obligation. She would work exclusively under Elias Rowan's supervision. Her schedule would be assigned daily. Her living expenses would be covered. Her debt would be forgiven upon completion. Failure to comply would result in immediate termination of support. Support. That was the word he used. Maya's phone rang. She didn't jump this time. She answered quietly. "Yes?" "You've received the contract," Elias said. It wasn't a question. "Yes?" "Do you have any questions?" She looked down at the pages again, at the neat margins, the absence of emotion. "What happens if I say no?" she asked. There was a pause. "Then the arrangement ends," he replied calmly. "The hospital payment becomes a loan with interest. Collection would begin immediately." Maya closed her eyes. She thought of her mother's hands, the way they used to braid her hair, the way they trembled now. "I'll sign it," she said. "Good," Elias replied. "You start tomorrow." The line went dead. The penthouse was not a home. It was a system. Maya realized that the moment she stepped inside for the first time as more than a cleaner. Everything was white, black, or steel. No softness, no clutter. Even the air felt controlled, filtered to perfection. Elias stood by the window, his back to her, hands clasped behind him. "You'll follow the schedule precisely," he said without turning around. "Any deviation must be approved." He handed her a tablet. Her daily routine was mapped out to the minute. Wake-up time, cleaning sequence, breaks, meals. She frowned. "There's no end time," she said. Elias turned then, studying her reaction. Your work ends when the tasks are complete. And if they're never complete? She asked quietly. A flicker crossed his face. They will be, he said. The first week passed in silence. Maya learned the rhythms of the penthouse. She learned which floors Elias paced when thinking, which rooms he avoided, which objects could not be moved, not even slightly. The chair in the office was one of them. It remained perfectly centered behind the desk, untouched. Every morning she cleaned the same surfaces in the same order. Marble first, glass second, metal last. She learned to vacuum in straight lines, overlapping each pass exactly halfway. She learned to fold towels with identical corners, measured by eye. She learned that if she adjusted something once, she would have to adjust it again and again until it was right. Elias watched, sometimes openly, sometimes from reflections in the glass. He rarely spoke. When he did, it was precise. Again, not like that. You missed a spot. He never raised his voice. That made it worse. By the second week, Maya noticed she had started correcting herself before he spoke. She adjusted objects automatically, measured her steps, held her breath when placing things down. At night, she dreamed in patterns. One evening, as she wiped down the kitchen counter, her hand slipped. The glass she had just cleaned landed slightly too close to the edge, barely noticeable. She turned to fix it, but stopped. Elias had frozen. He stood a few feet away, staring at the glass as if it were a threat. His breathing changed first, short, shallow. Then his hands began to tremble. Maya's heart pounded. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. "I'll move it." "No," he whispered. The words sounded strained. She hesitated, confused. "I can fix it," she said gently. "I said no." His voice wasn't angry. It was afraid. They stood there in silence, the glass between them like a fault line. Finally, Elias stepped forward and adjusted it himself, moving it less than an inch. Only then did he exhale. Maya watched him carefully. Something was wrong. That night, she couldn't sleep. She replayed the moment again and again, the way his body reacted, the way control seemed to hurt him. This wasn't about cleanliness. It was something deeper. The next morning, she tested it, just a little. She placed a book back on the shelf, intentionally misaligned by a fraction. Elias noticed immediately. His jaw tightened. He corrected it without comment, but his hand lingered on the spine longer than necessary. Later that day, she placed a towel slightly off-center. Same reaction, tension, correction, silence. By the end of the week, Maya was certain. The rules weren't for her. They were for him.
It was the gloves that confirmed it. She had never seen him without them. Black, perfectly fitted, always worn indoors. One evening, as he passed by her in the hallway, she noticed something. A faint redness on his wrist. Raw skin, as if the gloves never came off. "You don't have to wear them," she said before she could stop herself. Elias halted. Slowly, he turned. "They stay on," he said. "Why?" she asked softly. His eyes hardened. "Because they have to." That was the moment fear gave way to something else. Curiosity. And curiosity, Maya would learn, was dangerous. One night, she caught him watching her from the doorway again. But this time, his expression was different. Not assessing, not correcting. Studying. "You don't move like the others," he said suddenly. She paused. "What others?" "The staff," he replied. "They rush, they cut corners." "And I don't?" she asked. "No, you adapt." The word lingered. She didn't know whether it was a compliment or a warning. As she turned back to her work, she felt it clearly for the first time. This wasn't employment, it was observation, and she was no longer sure what role she was playing. Later that night, as Maya prepared to leave her room, she found the door locked. Not jammed, locked, from the outside. She tested the handle once, then again. Her phone buzzed. A message from Elias. "We need to talk." Maya did not panic immediately. That surprised her. Her hand rested on the door handle, fingers wrapped around cold metal, and for a moment she simply stood there listening, not for footsteps, not for voices, but for herself. Her breathing was steady, slow, almost practiced. She had learned that here. She tested the handle once more. Locked. Her phone vibrated in her palm. Elias, we need to talk. No explanation, no urgency, just expectation. Maya stared at the message longer than she should have. A week ago, her chest would have tightened, her mind would have raced through consequences, but something had shifted recently. Something subtle, like the first crack in ice. She typed back. Maya. About what? The reply came almost instantly. Elias. Come to the office. She glanced back at the door, then down the hallway. No guards, no cameras she hadn't already memorized. She exhaled and started walking. The office lights were on when she entered. That alone was unusual. Elias stood near the window, his back to her. The city stretched out beneath him in fragments of light. His reflection hovered faintly in the glass, tall, rigid, perfectly aligned with the skyline beyond. You locked my door, Maya said. He didn't turn around. Yes. Why? Silence. The chair sat behind the desk, untouched, centered exactly where it always was. Elias finally spoke. You didn't follow the schedule tonight. Her pulse quickened. I finished my tasks. You finished them differently. She waited. You placed the towels in reverse order. You adjusted the shelves twice. You paused before correcting the glass. Maya swallowed. You were testing me, he said. She didn't deny it. I was paying attention, she replied. That made him turn, slowly. His expression wasn't anger. It was something closer to exposure. You shouldn't do that, he said. Why? She asked quietly. Because patterns exist for a reason. And whose reason is that? Maya asked. The question hung between them. Elias looked away. The next few days were different, not calmer, sharper. Elias corrected her less often, but when he did, it was faster, more precise, almost defensive. Maya noticed how his movements grew rigid whenever she broke a routine, even slightly. One morning, she moved a chair an inch to the left. He noticed immediately, but instead of fixing it, he froze. His jaw clenched, his shoulders tensed. Maya watched him carefully. Do you want me to move it back? She asked. No, he said quickly. The word was too sharp. She waited. Seconds passed. Her breathing was uneven now, controlled but strained. Elias, she said gently, what happens if it stays there? His eyes flicked to the chair, then to her. Something flickered behind them. Fear, buried deep and tightly sealed. Things fall apart. The answer was immediate, too immediate. That night, Maya sat on the edge of her bed replaying the moment. Things fall apart. It wasn't about furniture. It was about something else. Something older. The next day, she noticed the gloves again. Elias stood at the kitchen counter, reviewing documents on his tablet. His sleeves were rolled back slightly, just enough for her to see the skin beneath the gloves. Red, irritated, raw. You sleep with them on, don't you? She asked softly. His head snapped up. That's none of your concern. I'm concerned, she said. He stared at her, something unreadable in his expression. Don't do that, he warned. Do what? Try to understand me. The words came out colder than he intended. Maya held his gaze. Why? She asked. Because if I do, this stops working? Silence stretched. Then, unexpectedly, he laughed. Once, bitter. You think you understand control. You think you see what this is.
I think, Maya replied carefully, that this isn't about order. He stepped closer. For the first time, he invaded her space. You're here because of me, because I decided you should be. And I stayed because I had to. There's a difference. That stopped him. He took a step back.
The shift was subtle after that, but it was there. Elias started avoiding certain rooms. He lingered longer in others. His rituals intensified late at night. Maya noticed the pacing. Always the same number of steps, always the same turns. One evening she interrupted it. She spoke while he counted. 3, he said. Elias, she said quietly. 4. You don't have to do this. 5. He stopped. The interruption shattered the rhythm. His chest rose sharply. Don't, he whispered. She didn't move. You're punishing yourself, she said. The words felt dangerous. His eyes darkened. You don't know anything about me. I know you're not punishing me, Maya replied. You're using me as proof that control still works. His breath hitched. That's enough, he snapped. But his voice lacked conviction. Later that night, Maya found him sitting in the dark office, not working, not standing, sitting, in the chair, for the first time. She stopped at the doorway. The sight unsettled her more than anything else had. He looked smaller somehow, folded inward. The gloves lay on the desk beside him. I don't let people see me like this, he said, without looking up. Maya stepped inside slowly. You don't let yourself see you like this, she replied. His hands trembled in his lap. This isn't about you, he said quietly. It never was. I know, she said. The silence that followed was heavy, not with threat, but with something fragile. Elias finally spoke again. My house burned down, he said. Maya's breath caught. He still didn't look at her. I was 7. The words landed like the first crack of thunder. She didn't interrupt, didn't move. She simply listened. Elias inhaled slowly, as if preparing to open a door he had kept sealed for decades. There's a smell, he said quietly. Maya waited. Before fire, he continued, staring straight ahead. Not smoke, not burning, just heat, dry heat, like the air has already decided what it's going to do. His voice was steady, but only because he forced it to be. I smell it sometimes, when things are out of place. Maya felt her chest tighten. That night, Elias said, I was supposed to be asleep. He paused, swallowing. My sister and I were playing in the hallway. My father was still awake. He always stayed up late. The office felt smaller now, as if the walls were leaning in to listen. There was a noise, a sound I didn't recognize. Then the lights went out. Maya pictured it without trying. Darkness, confusion, heat creeping in. My father told us to run, Elias continued. He picked me up first, took me outside. His jaw tightened. And then he heard it. Heard what? Asked Maya softly. The kitten. The word landed strangely in the air. She was trapped, crying somewhere inside. He let out a breath that shook despite his control. My father handed me to a neighbor and turned back toward the house. Maya's hands curled into fists at her sides. He told us to stay put, Elias said. He always said that. Stay where I can see you. Don't move unless I tell you. He laughed quietly, a broken sound. I watched him go back in. Maya didn't speak. She didn't need to. My sister didn't listen. She never did. His voice cracked for the first time. She ran after him. Silence flooded the room. I remember screaming, Elias said. I remember trying to pull away. People were holding me back. I remember thinking, if I had held on to her harder,
if I had been paying attention. His hands began to shake. "They never came out," he whispered. The words barely made it past his lips. The city outside continued moving, oblivious. "I was the only one left," Elias said. Maya stepped closer without realizing it. "They told me it wasn't my fault," continued Elias. "The firefighters, the doctors, everyone." He shook his head slowly. "But my mother—" He stopped. His throat worked as if forcing the next sentence out physically hurt. "She looked at me like I was a reminder of what she lost. And every time something went wrong after that, she asked me why I didn't stop it." Maya's breath caught. "I was 7, Elias said, "and I learned something that night." He finally looked at her. "That chaos kills, and control is the only thing that keeps people alive." Maya saw it then, the foundation of everything. The rules, the rituals, the obsession. Not arrogance, fear. After that night, Elias didn't become calmer. He became more exposed. The rules still existed, but they trembled now, like scaffolding around something fragile. He corrected Maya less often, not because the need was gone, but because he was fighting it. Sometimes he lost. Sometimes he stood frozen, counting under his breath. Maya noticed new details. The way his eyes darted to exits. The way loud sounds made his shoulders tense. The way he flinched when something unexpected happened. This wasn't dominance.
Before the next part, if you're enjoying this movie, hit like and subscribe. And let me know in the comments, how is this story making you feel right now? All right, let's continue. It was survival. One afternoon, Maya found him standing in the hallway, staring at a small framed photograph. A younger Elias, a woman beside him, neither of them smiling. "My mother," he said when he noticed her looking. "She still blames you?" Maya asked carefully. He nodded. "She says I live because they died," he replied, "that I owe them perfection." Maya felt anger bloom in her chest, sharp and protective. "That's not love," she said. Elias didn't argue. "I built this place because it doesn't burn," he said. "Steel, glass, systems, nothing unpredictable." "And people?" Maya asked. He hesitated. "People are variables," he said. Maya met his gaze. "So am I," she said. "And you brought me in anyway." Something shifted behind his eyes. "Yes," he admitted. "I didn't plan to," he continued. "But when I saw you in the chair—" He trailed off. "You saw what?" Maya pressed gently. He looked away. "I saw someone who didn't belong there. Someone who disrupted everything." She waited. "And instead of fixing it," he whispered, "I wanted to understand why it didn't feel right." The admission hung between them, heavy, dangerous. That night, Maya sat alone in her room, replaying his words. Control is the only thing that keeps people alive. She understood now. The debt, the contract, the confinement. They weren't punishments. They were proof. Proof that his system still worked. Proof that chaos could be contained. Proof that nothing would burn again. But systems built on fear don't protect. They imprison. The next morning, Maya confronted him. "You don't control me because I'm a threat," she said calmly. "You control me because I survived something you didn't." Elias stiffened. "You think survival makes me weak?" he asked. "No," Maya said. "I think it makes you human." He turned away. "I can't lose control," he said quietly. "If I do—" "You don't lose people because of disorder. You lose them because of silence." That was the moment the story shifted.
Elias closed his eyes. For the first time, he didn't correct her. When Elias opened his eyes again, they were wet. "If I let you go," he said, voice barely steady, "all I've built falls apart." Maya didn't hesitate. "Or," she said softly, "it finally stops burning." The silence that followed Maya's words was heavier than any argument. Elias didn't respond right away. He stood near the window, shoulders rigid, hands clenched at his sides. The city lights below seemed distant now, like they belonged to another world, one where people moved freely, unaware of the quiet war happening inside the penthouse. "If I let go," he said slowly, "there's nothing left to hold on to." Maya took a careful step forward. "That's not true," she said. "There's just nothing left to hide behind." He turned to face her. For the first time since she had known him, there was no structure in his expression, no calculation, no mask, only fear. "You think this ends if I open the door? You think freedom fixes what happened?" "I think control is breaking you," Maya replied, "and it's breaking me." The words landed cleanly, unavoidable. Elias looked at her as if seeing her fully for the first time, not as a variable, not as proof, but as a person. "You owe me," he said, his voice tightening. Maya nodded once. "I know," she said, "and I've paid in every way that mattered." He stepped closer, stopping just short of touching her. "I saved your mother." "Yes." "I gave you shelter." "Yes." "I protected you." Maya's voice was steady. "No," she said, "you contained me." The distinction cut deep. Elias recoiled slightly, as if struck. Outside, thunder rolled faintly, distant but present. Maya didn't move. "You didn't give me safety," she continued. "You gave me permission to breathe only when you allowed it." His hands trembled. "That wasn't my intention," he said. "I know," she replied. "That's what makes it dangerous." The room felt charged now, every breath sharp with tension. Elias paced once, twice. His movements were erratic, breaking the precise patterns he clung to. "You don't understand what happens when I lose control. I see it again. The fire, the noise, the heat." Maya's heart ached, but she didn't step back. "You don't stop fires by locking people in rooms. You stop them by learning when to let go." His jaw clenched. "And if I can't, then you don't get to keep me," Maya said. The words hung in the air like a verdict. Elias froze. "Keep me." The implication was undeniable now. Maya wasn't an employee. She was a captive. The realization shook him. He looked around the office, at the locked doors, the cameras, the untouched chair. All of it suddenly felt smaller, wrong. "When did this happen?" he asked quietly. "When did helping become this?" "When you decided that gratitude meant obedience," Maya replied. Silence stretched. Then, slowly, Elias reached for the gloves. Everyone in the building had seen him wear them. No one had ever seen him remove them. His fingers hesitated at the seams. Maya watched, breath held. One glove came off, then the other. His hands were raw, red, scarred from years of friction and anxiety. He stared at them like they belonged to someone else. "I don't know who I am without control," he admitted. Maya stepped closer. "You don't have to know right now," she said. "You just have to stop hurting people while you figure it out." His shoulders sagged. The fight drained out of him all at once. "I locked the doors," he said hoarsely. "I know." "I told security not to let you leave." "I know." The confession sat heavy between them. Maya didn't flinch. "Then unlock them," she said. Elias closed his eyes. This was the moment. The one no amount of money or power could buy his way out of. Letting her go meant facing the truth alone. Keeping her meant becoming the thing he feared most. Slowly, deliberately, he turned toward the control panel near the door. His hand hovered, then pressed. A soft click echoed through the room. The locks disengaged. Maya felt the shift immediately, not in the air, but in herself. Freedom wasn't loud, it was quiet. Elias didn't look at her as she walked toward the door. "I'm sorry," he said. The words were fragile, unpracticed. Maya paused. She turned back once. "This isn't forgiveness," she said gently. "It's a boundary." He nodded. She left. As the elevator doors closed behind Maya, Elias stood alone in the office, gloveless, exposed, and surrounded by a system that no longer obeyed him. For the first time since the fire, he had chosen uncertainty over control. Maya stepped out into the morning air just as the sky began to change. Not bright yet, not dark anymore. The city was in between, caught in that quiet hour where everything felt possible, but nothing had started moving yet. She stood on the sidewalk for a long moment, unsure of what to do next. Freedom didn't come with instructions. Her phone buzzed in her hand. A message from the hospital. "Your mother is awake." Maya closed her eyes, letting the relief wash through her slowly, carefully, the way you do when you're afraid to believe something good might last. She walked away from the building without looking back. Inside the penthouse, nothing had moved. The silence felt different now, not rigid, not enforced, just empty. Elias remained standing where Maya had left him, hands bare at his sides, the faint redness on his skin exposed to the air. He stared at the control panel near the door as if it were something unfamiliar. For the first time in years, there was nothing demanding his attention, no correction to make, no rule to enforce, no pattern to restore. The absence unsettled him more than chaos ever had. He sat down slowly, not behind the desk, in the chair. The leather creaked softly beneath his weight. He waited for the familiar spike of panic. It didn't come. Instead, something else did. Grief, raw and unfiltered. He bent forward, elbows on his knees, hands hanging uselessly between them. The city beyond the glass blurred as his vision filled. This time, there were no gloves to protect him. He stayed there until the sun climbed higher, casting light across the office in uneven angles, imperfect, uncontrolled. He didn't fix it. Weeks passed. The cameras came down. The schedules loosened. Therapy replaced isolation. Elias learned, slowly, painfully, that control hadn't saved his family. It had only delayed the loss. And that letting go didn't mean forgetting. It meant surviving honestly. Maya visited the building once more months later, not as an employee, not as a debtor. She stood at the edge of the office doorway, invited this time, and looked inside. The chair was still there, but it wasn't centered anymore. It sat slightly off to the side, untouched, unused, a reminder. Elias met her gaze briefly, then looked away, not in shame, but in understanding. She nodded once. That was enough. Maya turned and left, carrying nothing with her except what she had reclaimed, herself. The chair that once took her freedom became the place where he finally learned to stand.
If you're enjoying this story so far, support the channel by liking and subscribing. And tell me in the comments, have you ever experienced something like this, even on a smaller scale?